am Kaniski, and I would normally say you can catch my personal blog at iamkaniski.com, but we are done. We said goodbye to the blog. I'm working on a new one. So I just want to encourage you to please subscribe and like this video and share it if you feel the need. So today I want to come to you and talk to you about my C-section experience and give just a few tips about C-section recovery and share my postpartum C-section experience. This is my first C-section. If you see me looking that way, the little one is squirming now, but I've had 3 children. This is my 3rd child. But this is my first C-section. In a previous video, I actually talk about what happened that led me to a C-section because it was not planned up until now. I was really anti-C-section, and I always had this little condescending thing about people who have C-sections, like, you know, C-section is the easy way out. You know, you didn't really give birth if you have a C-section, you know. And I just want to say to the whole world, I'm so sorry for ever even formalizing those thoughts about a C-section, because it is a lot harder than I ever thought it could be. And you're a mother if you give birth or even have a child get pregnant. You're a mother all the same. So don't be that person who shames women because they have C-sections, because I was that woman. I never said anything to anybody. Those were my personal opinions, but my last experience has really changed my mind about a C-section. Like I said, I talked about how I got to the C-section in a previous video. So let me just say, I'm going to jump right into it. When I left my laboring room to go to the operating room, they prepped me and had already had my epidural. I talk about my experience with the epidural and trying natural childbirth in the previous video. But I had already had my epidural, which was done by the anesthesiologist. But in the C-section room, the nurse anesthetist actually was attending me. He was the one closest to me. He was at the head, and he was giving me more medication for the C-section itself. And he was giving me narcotics. One of the first questions I asked, because I was feeling very mellow, almost high, but come on, mama, because I don't think we're gonna be able to get through this video. I don't think we're gonna be able to get through this video unless I give mama some special attention here. So, little mama, there you go. There you go, KJ. You just want to be held. So, you just want to be held. So he was giving me a little bit more medication, and I was almost high, but I'm just gonna say I was really mellow. We'll leave it at that. But I was very much lucid, and I remember them just prepping me. They were moving really fast because this was a pretty intense situation with the way things, me and my baby were becoming unstable patients, both of us. I don't remember being cut open. I remember asking, what am I gonna feel? How much am I gonna feel, you know, of this whole operation? And the anesthesiologist, well, the nurse anesthetist told me, you're not going to feel any sharp pain. You will feel a lot of pulling and tugging, and he was 100% correct. So if you're afraid that it's going to be painful during the procedure, it's absolutely not. I did not feel anything except pulling and tugging. It was a little uncomfortable, but not painful, not enough to even discuss. I don't remember being cut open. I don't remember being stitched up. My poor husband, bless his heart, he was having a hard time getting on his sterile clothing and the booties that go over his shoes. So by the time he walked into the room, they had already made the incision. I didn't know anything about it. They pulled her out, and unfortunately I didn't get to have that beautiful scene where they hold the baby up over the little blanket, the curtain that they have between you and your open wound. They didn't do any of that because she wasn't breathing, and she had meconium staining, and it had got into her lungs. So they were trying to get all of that stuff aspirated out of her, well, sucked out of her. And I didn't get to see her for quite what seemed like forever, but it was a few minutes before my husband brought her over to me and I got to see her. So after they got me stitched back up, I think the whole thing may have taken 30 to 45 minutes. After they got me stitched back up, they took my baby straight to the neonatal intensive care unit. She had to stay there for 5 days because of the meconium and to make sure she didn't have bacterial infection. She was born at 5:15 in the morning. I don't think I saw her until about 12 o'clock noon. I had to wait until I could walk again before I could get out of bed. So there was a very long time before I actually got to hold my daughter, and that was really hard. Initially, the moment that I was able to walk, I took off, made a beeline to the NICU. Pain-wise, it's good. They were offering me pain medicine. I was like, no, I don't need it. I'm straight. This went on like most of the first day. I don't remember having a whole lot of pain medication. No narcotics, no nothing. And the nurses were like, every time shift change came, they were saying, you're doing good. You're up and you're walking. I'm like, yeah, I had no clue what was to come next. I later kind of pieced it together and figured out that I still had a lot of drugs, pain medication in my system from the epidural and the narcotics they gave me for surgery. So I just wasn't feeling no pain, and it gave me a false sense of security. But lo and behold, day 2 came along and was not so good. By the afternoon of day 2, I started to feel pain. And I made the mistake of not staying on top of the pain medicine and letting my body start experiencing that pain. So my first word of advice is take your pain medicine on the dot and round the clock religiously. Take it every time they offer it, because if you wait until you start having pain and you get behind the curve, it's hard getting, now you have to wait for the medication to kick in and wait to get pain relief. By the second day, I had learned my lesson. I started asking them, is it time for my pain medicine? Because you're probably not going to feel a lot of pain for the first few hours after surgery because of everything they gave you. So first order of business, take the pain medication, because it was intense pain. And even after I took the pain medicine, my pain kept increasing. And it was on day 2 that I realized, hey, I didn't just have like a little bitty small cut. Like, you had major abdominal surgery. And it became painful to sit up in bed. I could not get out of bed. I had gotten in so much pain, I had started crying. I would be crying just to turn over in the bed. Going to the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, trying to change my pants, pads, panties. Changing clothes was painful. So I learned quickly, take the pain medication. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. You have just been cut all the way open. On day 2, I also realized something. The morning of day 2, I went to the bathroom and I just out of curiosity, I wanted to just feel exactly where they cut me. And I discovered I had staples. Didn't know anything about that. Nobody said anything to me about staples. And I'll insert the video of me actually having to lift up my belly. Yeah. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's real. And this video is about me being real about that experience. So I lifted it up and I called it a zipper, because that's kind of what it looked like. Like I had a zipper going across the upper part of my pubic area underneath my belly. So I had a zipper line of staples. I don't know how many there were. To me, it looked to be at least 50. But somewhere definitely in the neighborhood of 30 to maybe 50 at the most. The staples, they removed those on day 3. Right before I went home, they removed the staples. Second word of advice, or the second negative I have, staples do not hurt. It did not hurt to have them removed. Out of all the staples I had maybe 2 staples that were a little bit uncomfortable coming out. But my nurse, she had a staple puller, and she had a medical staple puller, which she told me I could actually use to pull out staples of regular paper. And I'm like, I don't want no parts of this. But she was just pulling them out. No problem at all. I had 2 staples that were kind of uncomfortable, and I can say it absolutely felt like somebody was taking tweezers and maybe pulling out a hair, like plucking a hair out of my little pubic area. So it wasn't even really painful. It was just a little bit like, ooh, that's a little uncomfortable. But staples were not a problem to have them removed. After the staples came the steri strips. And so they sent me home with steri strips, little strips of tape to kind of hold the incision together a little bit. They told me to take those off at home in about a week. And I tried it. In about a week, I took one of them off. And it was kind of not that comfortable. It was a little bit more uncomfortable than having the staples removed. So what I did, I caught myself being smart. I took some Vaseline, third little nugget or word of advice. Take some Vaseline and just kind of rub it over the steri strips, kind of massage it into it to kind of loosen it up some. And that made it just a whole lot easier for them to kind of slide off. I just kind of massaged it around the edges of the steri strip and got it good and slick, and I took them off no problem. Don't have a major scar. I will insert a picture of the scar that I did have. I don't have a major scar. My doctor did really, really great with the surgery. No keloid or anything like that. But I remained on pain medication, narcotics, Tylenol, was it ibuprofen, and oxycodone. I took those religiously for, it's okay, baby. I took those religiously for like the first week and a half. Religiously, round the clock. I tapered myself off, so instead of doing like 3 a day, I started doing 2 a day, and then I started doing 1 a day. And then coming up into the second week, I wasn't taking anything at all. But I will say the first full week of surgery was postpartum was absolutely intense. Every day it got a little bit better, but it was painful. It was a slow go. Like there's no jumping up and down and running to the kitchen or quickly sitting on the toilet or quickly getting up. It was painful. Take your medication. You will thank me later. But there are some pluses about the C-section. One of the pluses that I have is that my vaginal recovery was a breeze. Like you know, they give you the peri bottle, you rinse, and it's supposed to help soothe and make the vagina and that area feel better. I probably used it a couple times at the hospital just for cleanliness sake, just to clean, you know, for cleanliness, period. But the vaginal recovery was a breeze. I probably had 3 days or 2.5 days of like really intense vaginal bleeding. But by the time I went home, it was like spotting. And within the first week, it went from like red, bright red period blood spotting to like a yellow, brownish, darker color. You know, I guess they call it like low-key or whatever. Low-key or something. I'm probably not saying it right. But it went very, very minimal. I didn't have any vaginal pain, no vaginal tearing, no hemorrhoids or anything because I didn't do any pushing. So the plus of a C-section is your vaginal health is going to be the bomb. It's going to be the shit. You ain't going to have no major problems. And the bleeding, for me at least, was like really decreased. It was nothing. Like I have no complaints about my postpartum like bleeding or anything. I'm still having some very mild spotting, but it's not even like blood. It's more of that light yellowish, kind of opaque, low-key that's kind of got a little brownish tannish to it. And it's just the inside of my uterus is still healing from where the placenta was. What else about the C-section? Oh, I wasn't able to drive for 2 weeks. The doctor told me not to drive, and I just took his word for it at that point. I was like, you said don't drive, I ain't driving. First of all, they don't want you driving on narcotics. But secondly, he told me don't drive until you're able to turn, maneuver, and get around without having any pain. He said when you can start moving and you're not saying ooh, ow, or it hurts, so you got to go really slow, he said that's when you're ready to drive. And that has taken literally about 2 weeks. Today, I'm now in my 3rd week. I'm like 3 weeks and 2 days postpartum. So last week I started to drive. The scar, like I said, is almost nothing. You can't even hardly see it really. About 2 weeks, I started having what I think is a healing ridge. I had this real solid firmness right at the scar, the length of the scar. It felt like there was a metal rod or plastic rod or something hard underneath the scar. It's not as prominent now. You couldn't see it, but you could definitely feel it. You could definitely feel it. You could definitely feel it. So the other thing that I did want to share with you all is just my postpartum, just like weight. Hang out right there, mama. I started out at 203 pounds before I got pregnant. When I had my daughter, I was 219, and now I'm 196, and the only thing I've done is actually breastfed. So I have not been dieting, I have not been exercising, I've not done any of that. So I just wanted to show like my postpartum weight loss. I have on a girdle currently just to keep everything pulled in. And remind you, I was obese like before I had my baby. So the scar is actually way right here. Like it's under here. And you really can't even see it. That's where the scar is. I'm still dealing with like the mush belly. It's like not tight at all. But we're getting there. Believe it or not, I've actually lost 26 pounds. So, so this is where we are. I hope to lose a lot more, and I hope that my abdominal muscles will tighten. One of the fears that I actually had about a C-section is that once you get cut, once they cut the muscles, you never shrink back. It doesn't go back. It's hard to tighten your abdominals. We'll see. But, you know, damn, I've had 3 kids. I just accept it's part of being a woman. I ain't putting no pressure on myself, and I'm not hung up about it at all. So that's just been my experience. Any more suggestions about a C-section, any questions that anybody may have, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna have to tend to KJ because she hype right now. But thank you all. I appreciate y'all for watching, and please, please, please stay tuned for the next few videos.